Hello and welcome to Chats, the television podcast, season 15, Sense8. Each week we watch and discuss 2 episodes of the Netflix original series, Sense8. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by Andy Dick's assistant, who unfortunately had to clean his Academy Award the next day. It's Magellan!
Oh my god. Sometimes I wonder how much influence Andy Dick has over a script when he walks in. Because who else could have played that particular role with those lines? I don't know.
Just like Miguel Silvestre playing Leto, and it's like, okay, we think that you do really cool cocktail stunts, so we're going to keep writing it into the show. I think that they wrote that character for Andy Dick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It felt weird, and I wanted to make you wince a little bit. That's my real goal when I call you something at the intro. Is like, can I make Magellan go like, oy, or oof, oy.
Oy.
What's going on? What's new in your life?
The other day, this is related to you predicting my reaction. My girlfriend and her roommate were laughing about something, and they weren't telling me what it was. And then they told me that they're thinking of fostering new kittens, and the kittens are going to be named like egg, chives, onion, and something. And
amazing
ingredients of an omelet, so that when you go take them into the vet, you're taking in omelet instead of like their individual names. And then they laughed a lot at that, and I was like, okay, that's promising, or like, that's interesting. And then they explained to me why it was such a funny thing that they were withholding, and it's because the day before my girlfriend had been like, okay, we're going to tell him this, and his reaction is going to be, oh, omelet, very promising. And it was like, like the pitch and pace of my words were exactly what she'd predicted. The words themselves were different, but I'm more predictable than I realize, I guess.
You're predictable in the right ways, though, and then you're unpredictable in other ways. Similarly, that time that roommate of the podcast, Charlie, and I, we were hanging out with you, and you like said something, and we were both like, yeah, that's like a Magellan reaction. Is like you say something, and his version of yes anding is going, yeah, it is that. And we both like laughed about that for 10 minutes because I've known you for over 10 years, and you've always done that. Yeah, it's. I'm like, oh, there's like a gigantic fish swimming in the lake, and you're like, yeah, there's a fish swimming in the lake. you're a Charlie Day character or something. Yeah, there's a fish swimming in the lake.
That's funny.
A creature of comfort. Not a creature of habit, a creature of comfort is what I would describe you as.
I'm a creature.
Yeah, but the most important thing is that you are a creature. You're
yeah, I'm a creature.
Yeah, but there it is. Hey.
Hey. So speaking of creature comforts, we watched Sense8 this week. We watched 2 more episodes of it. How are you? Are you good, by the way?
Yes, thank you for asking. I'm having a good New Year so far. I've been inside a lot. I had to get myself out of the house recently, so I went and saw a movie with a friend, and that was good. I'll talk about the movie later.
Awesome. Great. I can't wait. Anyway, we watched Sense8, 2 more episodes. This is our penultimate Chats8 episode, because next week there's only 1 more. But you could argue that we finished season 2 in a way, because if I'm understanding correctly, the show was canceled after the episodes we watched tonight, and then it was revived for the 2.5-hour finale that we'll watch next time.
That's correct.
Yeah. So this time around, I am going to stop talking so that you can do this part.
Okay, great. I'm going to tell you guys that this week on Chat8, we watched episode 10 of season 2. If all the world's a stage, identity is nothing but a costume. And season 2, episode 11, the finale before the renewed finale, You Want a War? If All the World's a Stage, Identity is Nothing But a Costume was written by Lana Wachowski and J. Michael Straczynski. It was directed by Tom Tykwer, and it aired with the rest of this part of season 2 on May 5th, 2017. But John, what happened in this episode?
In this episode, Sun moves ahead with her undercover mission, while Leto heads to Hollywood for the audition of a lifetime. Capheus prepares for his first big speech. What do you think of If All the World's a Stage, Identity is Nothing But a Costume?
Such a good title.
that's a JMS title right there. Just gotta say.
Oh yeah. Oh, it definitely is. I'm trying to think about how to word this. Sense8 has run out. There's no more Sense8. And it's always been a messy show since the jump. And it's messier than ever. It's as fun as ever. It's almost Anthropocene. Like, it feels like it's in a post Sense8 universe now, where it's like this ragged corpse just being brought up again and again as the world around it collapses. And it's like, what's left? I don't know. Sun still needs to kill her brother, I suppose. Capheus still needs to become a politician, I suppose. Like, we're just doing things for the sake of finishing them. And it's not like arcs are progressing. It's not like characters are evolving, but we're just, moving forward. And I came out of it feeling very placid and comfortable. It's like, yeah, you know what, Sense8, you keep going. And that's how I felt about both of these, honestly. But big time on If All the World's a Stage, I was like, yeah, this is nice. You've run out of ideas, and that's okay sometimes, because I understand that the show was like such a chaotic production. But what about you?
Yeah, I think the part that resonated the most with me there was
the word Anthropocene.
No, I don't know if you used that correctly or not.
Oh, damn it!
I mean, you might have. Let's see.
Relating to the current geological age, using it as the period during which human activity has been the dominant influence on climate. It's the current geological age. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really weird way to use it, but I'm saying, like, it feels like it's post-world. Like, TV and dramatic TV is over, and what we have left is the end of Sense8 season 2. I don't know that's what I mean. Like, it's a hollow corpse remaining after the rest of the world has burned down.
I see what you're saying. The part that resonated with me from what you said was just finishing things for the sake of finishing them. Because, yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm enjoying the show. I had a great time watching the episode, and I don't know if I could tell you which of the plots I'm actually deeply invested in versus just I want to see this conclude, because I've almost the what's that thing where you are like, well, I already spent money on this.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy. That's kind of what's happening to me right now.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's a sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'm watching a lot of Noel Miller, so I have all of his like soundboard clips in my head. That's a SpongeBob clip he uses a lot. That was good though. It is a sunk cost fallacy. This one especially. That's the is that this one? No, that's the second one.
I don't know.
Regardless, the second one's the sun stuff. The first one is a lot of Leto stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun here, and the filmmaking is still as great as it's been. But I just, I don't know. I'm ready for the show to be done because it just has not become what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready for it to have a dazzling finale and then move on to the next thing is kind of how I'm feeling.
Exactly. I want to be dazzled in that Wachowski way, in that JMS way, where a bunch of arcs conclude and people say big things that feel like they matter, and then we get some good music, and then just close the curtain. And we're getting to that, at least in this penultimate episode. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how the different characters reckon with their ending of their plots. Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, we open on a combo of characters that I still didn't think we've handled or done yet, which is Kala and Riley. Of all of the weird pairings that I thought we've seen, and if we have, then we haven't seen a lot of them. A little bit of this conversation has to do with like how much they love their respective people, and Riley talks about how good the sex with Will is, and how much it's sad that he's mourning his dad. And there's this great line: "I can't feel his grief. It's unbearable because the alternative. It's only bearable because the alternative is not." Like, not handling this and not being there for him is so much more discomforting for me than just trying to be there. I can feel his grief. That's the line. Yeah. What did you think about the grief talk here with Will's dad? It felt like it was necessary, and to me, it at least gave him a bit more closure than Jonas, who's a farce of a character now.
I have come around on this a little bit. I think I was kind of dismissive of like the Will heroin stuff that we saw some episodes ago, but there's a moment where in this episode, if I'm understanding correctly, he uses heroin. Is that right?
In this one, yeah.
Yeah. And knowing JMS's past interest in depicting substance abuse, which we saw in Babylon 5, I sort of approached this story with like, okay, this is a writer that I have seen tackle these themes before in a way that I think was really accurate. Like, let me approach it in that way. And I thought it worked for me that we have this guy, Will, who, feels like he failed his dad, always feels like he needs to save people, couldn't save the person who mattered most to him. And now he's like entering into this self-destructive behavior because, he feels like he deserves to be punished or something like that. And then the thing that pulls him out of it is the thing that his dad didn't have, which is community and connection and these investments he's made in other people, keeping him alive. So I think it was brief. And I think that's, at the end of the day, a critique of Sense8 that just you can't avoid. That like these character moments are going to be pretty short, but I think all the beats were there, and I think that it was the ending that Will Gorski needed, I think.
Yeah.
Which something I realized in this episode, we basically don't see Nomi at all. There's almost no Nomi. There's maybe just a flash of her in a scene where everybody is flashing through the scene. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is it's because Nomi had her ending last week,
right? With the family
her
at the
sister's wedding and stuff. And this feels like Will's ending to me. And I'm glad that we got this kind of rollover in the aftermath of it here.
Yeah,
what did you think of it, of the Will stuff and what came out of it?
Well, there are plot lines that I think still don't feel satisfying. They don't feel like they ended properly. The part where a lot of these storylines are rushed, I understand, and I'm not as saying like I wish they slowed down anymore. I feel like I said that a lot during the podcast, and now it's like, I mean, what did you want? The show is canceled. I can't make it less canceled by wishing that it was slower. But no, I do think that Will's storyline concludes nicely here with like two people talking about him. This isn't Will talking about grief. And he does in this episode, when he's like, with whispers and him being like, oh, you're the reason your dad died. But ultimately, I think what works about Will's plotline is, like you said, he has what his dad didn't have, which is people around him physically. There's that really heartbreaking phone call where the dad is like, I'm falling back into these habits because you are not here. Even if I know you're on the phone and you care about me, you're not physically here, and that matters to me. And a lot of the like narrative weight of these two episodes is realizing that even if you're a Sense8, even if you have this profound intimate connection with people across the world, it only really works if you're physically together. Like, it works better than it ever could. And to like build to that with Will's dad and then have the rest of the show catch up felt like, yeah, actually Will's storyline was more important to the storyline of Sense8 than we gave it credit for, because it's about like, in season 1, it was like, stop being a hero, stop trying to be the cop that saves people. And he realized that and now says, okay, well, I need to help people. And in this case, the answer was you should be there for them physically. You should go visit them and get out of your head and get out of your habits. So I felt good about where Will's plotline went ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I feel mixed about the like, you guys should just hang out in person, but I want to save that for the second episode because that's where people meeting up matters a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about meeting up in this episode, like that brief but interesting Wolfgang Kala scene next. Kala's complaining that she's not finding the satisfaction in her life by continuing to try to be with Rajan. And she says to Wolfgang, for me, fixing something isn't shooting it with a rocket launcher. Like, which is funny, and also acknowledging that, like, I cannot have a big fight scene that fixes my like issues with my husband. It's not I realized he's evil and I should like dump him in front of everyone like that. This isn't that kind of movie. I need to She says in this like I owe Rajan the truth. And I really agree with Kali here. I was like, you know what? Even if you leave him now, at the very least you should tell him why this is happening.
Yeah.
Because a lot of characters have been able to do that successfully or otherwise with their partners, and it's mattered. It's been useful. Like Nomi and Amanita, their relationship is stronger because they talked about it. And so for her to never tell Rajan, it's like, you're kind of leaving this guy in the lurch. He might be a bad guy. The reveals about what he's been doing are really weird and hurried, but even if that's the case, you should still tell him. And she says here that she wants to tell him. Are you still invested in the Rajan stuff at this point?
They sort of threw us a curveball in this a little bit that I think happens in the next episode. So we'll talk more about that. But I was under the impression, okay, Rajan is like a bad guy. He's involved in some stuff, and I was ready to see that play out. But with the curveball they give us in the next one, my interest is piqued again just to have the questions answered. But, you know, the Kala Wolfgang stuff, this is the part of this sort of story that is like the most uncomfortable when it goes from the kind of like rush of the beginning to the like, well, now we need to have the difficult conversations and deal with the practical realities. And so for me, this plot got like, okay, stop it. Across these episodes.
Yeah, and the opportunity that presents itself in the second one of like, oh, we're gonna meet up in France and fall in love. And like I wrote in my notes, like, you know what? Just do it. Just do it at this point. Just fucking do it. I'm no longer interested in you guys trying to be adults about this. If you really wanted to get Wolfgang and Kala together, then just make them fall in love in France and have that be their ending. I'm not okay with it, and I feel weird about it, and whatever, you know, I've accepted it. There's a little bit of Whisper stuff in this one. We don't need to talk about it because most of the cool Whisper stuff happens in the second one. But I'd say the two big like tent poles of this episode that we can talk about are Capheus's whole political situation and then Leto and Sun's back and forth. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Capheus. I'm curious your thoughts on the Capheus plotline in this one.
Speaking of inevitability, if we're going to set up Capheus as being a politician, this is one way for that to go. The show is gonna say, yeah, it goes really well for him. I almost wish that we could have seen like the build up to all of this for him to just go like in front of this huge crowd, all holding up signs that say, you know, like Capheus and Van Damme and all of this stuff and like Hope and whatever. I wanted to see how we got here. It feels like we skipped like all of the parts that are interesting about somebody becoming a politician and just got like, and then it's really dangerous because people want it out for you. So like what we got, other than his really good speech in this episode and the fact that everyone here supports him, was like, does everyone, like his family and friends do, but he still has enemies, and he's gonna have to accept that for even when he's not like fighting for Silas Kabaka and driving his daughter. Now as a politician, he's dealing with the same shit. People still want his head because once you have an ideology, people are going to fight back against you. It felt very like they ratcheted up the scale for this plotline in a way that I found distancing. You know, he's saying like, oh, don't they know I'm just like them? Like, I'm normal, guys. I'm normal. Jella tells him, just drive the bus, which is what encourages him to walk up to the podium and talk. And it's great that like the Sense8s are here for him, but like, what is this? Like, I feel like, you know, 4 weeks ago, Capheus was driving a bus and dealing with his mom and trying to deal with structural, like, economic unfairness. And now he's a politician? What are we going to do with this plot line? Nothing. Congrats. I guess he became what he wanted to be.
Right. Yeah. It really is the situation where, okay, we're doing this A to B to C to D to E to F to G thing. All the steps follow logically one to the other, but like, where's what's the, I don't know, what is the story of this? It feels like the next step is only responding to the previous step. I love the speech that he gives here where he's talking about like, you know, his mom and his dad and about his beliefs about people coming together. But when has that ever been a thing that he says? You know, like this whole time, the only thing we've really been told is the people around him are saying, you should do it, you should do it, you should run. You know, the people love you, they would support you, you could, you know, depose this like corrupt dude or whatever. But I don't think we've gotten a lot of insight into Capheus's beliefs. So for them to emerge in this speech, it's well written. And also, I wish I knew that, you know?
Mm-hmm. He's almost just like a megaphone for the show's politics, you know? Talking about like...
Right.
Jella and I are of mixed cultures, and we never talked about that because those things don't matter to us. Differences matter less than what we share in common. And it's like, what's so funny about that to me is you have all these like nice sayings and talks about like my family is of two different cultures, and it's great that we're acknowledging the diversity of African culture. And then what does the plot have left to do but throw a Molotov cocktail at him? Like, there's nothing left. There's no more like, okay, somebody disagrees with you. Why? Don't worry about it. The plot is over. We have to drive him out of here. Something has to happen. People want to kill Capheus. Okay. Yeah. It just shows that, like, once you start to speak out about your beliefs, people are going to disagree with you, and that can get violent sometimes, and it's sad, but true. So, like, as the scene transitioned to, like, the police are being really violent and, like, hosing people, and Will's like, this is a big trap, and that guy's going to try and stop you. Oh, his son's going to block the knife. And then the leader of the superpower comes back. I was like, what are we doing? Like, why are we here? What is this anymore? Why? And he's like, oh, why are you helping me? Because the safety's on. You're not actually going to shoot me. He tries, like, Capheus away. And the guy's like, well, we both work for someone, and I don't want people to try to tell us what to do, and that seems unfair. So fuck the ops, basically. Fuck people who disagree with us, and fuck our bosses. I work with you because I choose to. Okay, where are we going? He goes home and he's fine. Capheus is fine.
Right.
Felt like nothing. I still like seeing that guy, and yet,
yeah. I mean, that guy's incredibly charismatic, but I think we talked about this last time. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's just this kind of like arbitrary, lion's paw. Is that what it is? Maybe? What's that story where you pull the thing out of the lion's paw? Is it a lion?
I don't know.
Anyway, that feels like what it is. But there's not much to the Capheus plot besides that. And it's really also used, I think what bothers me about it is partly what you said, that as a character, he's just a mouthpiece for the show's themes. I guess he did that speech for the reporter that one time that he did with Leto. And so that was a previous time where Capheus's views are being shared.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Maybe I'm just jaded on politics, but someone becoming a politician to like espouse their views feels like very hollow to me.
Yeah, and I just don't trust the like people who are around him and cheering him on and saying like, yeah, you should do this. It feels like they have agendas that aren't being explored, but I guess we don't want to be critical about that. So,
and we know it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So he gets home and his like family and friends are like, even though that happened, you probably are still going to win. People still like you. And the other guy seems like an asshole now because they know that these guys were sent by him. So this is fine. Like, don't even worry about it. It's just weird.
Super weird.
Do we want to pivot then to talk about Sun and Leto's wacky adventures?
Yeah, let's do that.
So we talked last time about, again, Miguel Silvestre does like bartender stuff. Presumably, unless I still don't know if that's a stunt actor. I could not tell. And Sun, coincidentally, in order to get into Junki's like big party that's coming up, needs to be a hostess. So she is at hostess training, and the guy's super intimidating, and he says, "I need you to make me a drink." And so she is making a sidecar. I looked this up, by the way. It's cognac, orange liqueur, and lemon juice, which sounds
yum.
Yeah, it actually sounds pretty good if you like cognac. She doesn't know how to make this. She's nervous about it, but Leto knows how to make it, and so on her end, that's really what happens. Is she, and Leto embodies her for a second. They do it, and it's great, and then she gets into the party, and that's what happens in this episode. Except also, there's a part where she's like getting nervous about like, oh my god, after this, like I'm gonna go to this party and I'm gonna kill my brother, and Will says late in the episode, every cop knows there are times where the only choice you have left is to defend yourself. Which is so propaganda. I can't even believe it that someone wrote that line.
I know. And then they follow that up a little bit later in the episode with Riley coming home to him.
I missed my cop?
I missed my cop.
What? So weird. Oh God, the sun half of this episode is pants on head. It's getting her to the cool part next episode. Whatever.
Right.
Her wearing the pink wig is fun too. But yeah, I'd say my favorite plot of this episode is Leto's half of all of this. He's listening. It's a little small detail. He's going to meet Mr. Wrangler, who's played by Andy Dick, as we mentioned before. He's listening to like some Spanish hip hop to hype himself up. He's got his little headphones in, and he takes a break because what's happening is that Mr. Wrangler is like, before you can be my character. I think he's the director of the movie, or casting director or something,
or a producer or something. But I think he's the director.
Yes, and he's like, I need you to do the audition in front of me. Do it with my like assistant here, and you're gonna do this like really emotional scene. I need to feel it. And to hype himself up, he goes into his head, and then he helps Sun. That gives him the confidence to channel her, because she is having the same arc as this character in the movie, perfectly coincidentally, of like, I don't know if my family loves me anymore. I don't know. I feel like I'm on my own. Sad, sad, sad. Impresses Andy Dick. It's very cute. He gets the part. Seems like it's going well. Then, again, just like, okay, this plot doesn't need to go anywhere, but we want to take it somewhere. Let's throw on some weird EDM.
It feels like we're in the new game plus of Leto's plot at this point. When we go to this Hollywood party.
Well said. It's like, or the post-game quest line that you're like, oh, this is weird. Why is this in here? I have all the upgrades. Like, okay, sure. Andy Dick talks about how he got an Oscar and he shoved it up his butt. He
moved it up, put it in his butt,
Yeah. And then bananas cameo from Marc Jacobs. The like fashion guy, Marc Jacobs. I think that's actually him. I might be wrong. The guy with the hat, I'm pretty sure, is Marc Jacobs. Or no, that's Charlie. The other guy is the guy that like actually dresses him is Marc Jacobs. Are they actually dating? Why are they in this? Do they want to do the Wachowskis a favor? Also, as they're panning around this party, and someone's like, look who's here. And then Danielle's like, oh my God, it's him. Is that Johnny Depp that she sees?
What?
I think she's, there's a part where someone's like,
God. Look, I googled Marc Jacobs Sense8.
Yeah.
And I do believe, no.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Marc Jacobs did an Instagram post, me studying my sides for episode 10, season 2.
Yeah.
I
Googled that, and then there was a related search for Johnny Depp, so I'm clicking on that.
I mean, I don't know if that guy was actually Johnny Depp.
Yeah, no, that's Johnny Depp.
At least it's in the show. It is.
Right.
It might have actually been him though. It's really weird. I also think Lady Gaga's playing piano at this, but that's my theory. So weird.
Wild.
So weird. We're just in Hollywood now. We're doing like real like. I watched a movie this weekend that also felt like, oh my God, this Hollywood guy just got his Hollywood friends to be in his movie, and now it's like, okay, did the Wachowskis and it just like know Marc Jacobs and like Johnny Depp, and they were like, can you just sit as an extra in our scene, please? But it's so weird. Marc Jacobs makes Leto get naked and like down to his underwear at least, and dress him in like people's clothing from around the party. It's very strange and kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be. It's making Leto feel very vulnerable and out of his element. But because they're like, oh, like you're gonna be so hot now. You're my main character, and he's kind of cute, I guess. He's got a fun hat on.
Mm-hmm.
He meets
my thing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna pivot. I was gonna segue. I mean,
I think my thing with this plot, with the Capheus plot, is it's partly informed by this meta textual understanding that the show is about to end. So I know that this is nothing.
Yeah.
This isn't going anywhere, which isn't totally fair to the show, because this could very well be setting up for the next chapter of Leto's story, where he's living in Hollywood and he's dealing with this new cast of strange characters, and we're going to deepen and explore these themes a little bit more. But because we know that there is not like, and maybe they get into this in the finale. I mean, it's 2.5 hours long, so there's plenty of time to do it. But for reasons we'll talk about next episode, the chess pieces have been moved around a little bit. But like, that's where I'm finding it hard to like be a fair television critic, because I could very easily see this being like, all right, we're wiping the Leto slate clean. We're not in Mexico anymore. We're in Hollywood. He brought his buddies, and now here are all these new supporting characters, and we'll get back to them, and we'll make this more fleshed out the way that we did his like season 1 story. But because we don't have the benefit of seeing what they could have done, all we can do is judge this by the fact that this is all that they gave us, presumably. And when this is all you have, it's like a comedy sketch. And that's just not quite what I'm looking for when I watch Sense8. So it's a tricky thing to critique, I think, because there's just this weight of like knowledge that we're not supposed to know in watching it.
This is becoming the Netflix thing, and we'll talk about this a lot when we get to the finale of the series. But you build things, and if if Netflix, the CEOs or whoever the higher ups there, can't imagine where this is going to go in 3, 4, 5 seasons and see that it's going to be continuously successful, then they're just going to axe it. And like, the only thing in here that feels like a thread that's going to pick up is the introduction of Blake Huntington, his like partner in the movie.
Yeah, his like co-star, right?
Yeah. Other than that, none of this is going to go anywhere. Even like if there was a season 3, I don't think most of this would come back. Other than, it's like Leto's in Hollywood now, and people are like weird and sexual and judgy of him. Because it's a different kind of judgy than like, oh no, in Mexico people are homophobic. It's like, no, in Hollywood, people are not everyone's gay, and it's weird, and we're weird about it. Right, that's what this all feels like. But like, we meet the co-star, and he's like, I would fuck him. I'd fuck his character. Whatever. I think that actor is Cheyenne Jackson is the name of the actor. He's very good looking. I have nothing to say about him though, but it felt like they're setting up a plot.
The distracting thing is the thing I know him from is
30 Rock. Yeah.
And so it's like hard to take him seriously, because in that he's like the Canadian guy who's like really hot and well-meaning, and everybody hates, or Jenna hates, because he's so hot and could be more popular than her. So it's like, you're what?
Right.
It's hard for me to not see you as the 30 Rock guy.
Danny Baker from 30 Rock, yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's weird. And then we get like some Bon Iver as Leto's on the beach, and him and Hernando are like, this is like another wrinkle that could become something. He says, what if everyone finds out I'm not a good actor? And that kind of struck me a little bit. As somebody who has a lot of self-confidence problems, or has had them, I'm working on it. It's my like big challenge this year. And like, to see Leto, somebody who's like very successful, he's not worried about like, what if I don't get the part anymore? He's like, what if they all realize I'm a fraud? Like, he has like honest to goodness imposter syndrome here. I really empathized with that and felt, I felt him when he said that if like they find out I'm not good, because he has been doing like action movies, loud, memorable to the certain types of fan base movies, but he hasn't done like, highbrow, quote unquote highbrow cinema, whatever the hell that means. So this is like scary for him because he's not used to this type of acting. So I really liked that aspect of this, and I thought that would have been cool to like follow up on. And Hernando in this same scene, this is the scene where they're on the beach, Hernando says, "There's nothing more frightening than having a dream come true." I was like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
These are the lines. This is like the end of Leto and Hernando. This is them in the sunset. They strip down and they kiss in the water together. That's so cute. And then he yells, "From queer to eternity," because From Here to Eternity is one of his faves. It's both setting up some stuff that could have been interesting and just ending Leto and Hernando's plot in a cute little way. And I liked it.
Right. Yeah, it's this very rapturous, we did it, we made it. And now we can do this out in the open on the beach and be ourselves and wear our Speedos underneath our clothes. And it's amazing. When they both stripped off all their clothes and they were both wearing like matching Speedos, it was hard to take it seriously.
Yeah, they planned it.
Yeah.
I
would like to see the scene where they do plan it and they're like, hey, let's have a spontaneous sex thing on the beach, kissing thing where we're wearing our Speedos. All right, are you going to wear the blue one or the black one? Or
I think Linus is purple. I might be wrong. I don't remember. I didn't look super closely. Listen. No. I'll be right back. That's what I got. It's a fun episode, and then it ends with Kala's like, "I'm really nervous," and then they reference a line that Sun said back in season 1 about putting all your worries into your fist and fighting for what matters to you.
God, that was such a good moment.
Yeah, it was. Dude,
season awesome.
Who was watching this when it came out and said, "Yeah, that was a line from season 1." Like, what eagle-eyed listener was like, "Yes." Besides us,
my favorite stuff of Sense8 is when one Sense8 is like, "I gotta go do this alone," and everyone's like, "Fuck no, we're all gonna do this. Let's go." And it's like, yeah, yes.
Every time it happens, I love it. Every time.
Yeah.
Did you have any stray notes on this one?
I wrote this line, Whisper's doing the creepy villain thing is great, but I can't remember what. He's like in Will's head at some point.
Yeah, he threatens Will.
Villain stuff.
In this episode, he threatens Will and says like, "Oh, you're going to keep doing the heroin, but you're not going to actually get out here and do anything. I'm going to keep fucking with you until I capture all of you."
Right. The guy playing Whispers is great. I think we're like doing this kind of inconsistent thing where sometimes he's scary and sometimes he's not. But the guy playing Whispers is terrifying.
Yeah. Terrence Mann is the actor. I realized I recognized him in something today.
What?
Because I was looking on his IMDb and I was like, wow, that photo doesn't look anything like Whispers. He really transforms his character for different things. It was him in the Dresden Files. But what I know him from is he is one in Foundation, Apple TV Plus's adaptation of Asimov's Foundation. He's a very important character in that, and another very menacing villain type that I really like in that show. So if you haven't seen Apple TV Plus's Foundation, he's kind of playing a similar character of like menacing, older, talks about the end of the world, has big plans, etc. I dig it a lot.
Okay. I think my favorite line from the episode is, I can't remember who says this, but someone says there's a chance, maybe even a last chance, for a future that doesn't look like our past. That might be Kala. I don't actually remember. Or no, I can't remember. But I think the reason I can't remember is because it applies to so many of the characters' plots in this moment, which makes it a good line. And I like that way of phrasing this moment of like, we are entering the end game of the show or of the season. It's partly about making things different, but it's partly about like, this is our last chance to make things different. And I like that feeling of what the stakes are here. And I think it sets us up well to go into Sun's like action movie conclusion.
Yeah, it's exactly. A lot of this is like the best parts of this episode are building up to that little the conflict next week.
Yeah.
I think I'm seeing the script here, but it doesn't have people's names next to it. So I'm not, it might be in actually Capheus's plot. Regardless, I like that line too. The thing about the last chance. Yeah, did you have anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, great. Well, let's take it to a brief musical break, and we'll be back to discuss You Want a War?
Sky
Welcome back to Sense8. The second episode we watched this week was Season 2, Episode 11 of Sense8, entitled You Want a War? It was written by Lana Wachowski and J. Michael Straczynski, directed by Lana Wachowski, and it aired on May 5th, 2017, along with all the rest of these dang episodes we've been watching. Alan, we've been binging. We've binged the last 10 on May 5th, and we're about to go to sleep for the night. But first, we're going to watch this final episode of Sense8. We heard it was canceled already. What the heck?
Damn.
Hope this one's good. What's it about?
Well, Majan, I'm really glad you asked because I don't know. In this episode, at the gala, Sun braces for a climactic showdown with her brother Junki. Soon, a dire new threat sends the Sense8 scrambling to save another member of the cluster. And just to clear that up, the new threat is the old threat. It's Whispers again, but now he's also kind of working with Jonas. And the member of the cluster that's taken is Wolfgang right before he meets up with Kala in France. We're about to rescue him, and then the show is extremely over before it's over. That's the real summary. What happened?
2 questions for you.
Go.
Just 2 quick questions for you. How do you know how long people had to wait until the final episode we're going to watch next week?
Yes, I've looked it up before.
How long?
Do you want me to tell you, or are you asking me?
I already looked. I'm looking at it. I'm quizzing you.
It's 13 months.
That's right.
Bananas.
Would you have been? How would you have felt if this was it?
Really disappointed. Here's the thing: is Sense8 was warning us. Every Netflix show does this shit now, where they write for a longer arc, and then Netflix. A friend of the podcast, friend of a friend of the podcast, Kevin from the Austin Danger podcast, calls this the da-dum, which is the sound that Netflix makes when you open it. It's called getting da-dummed, which is when Netflix gets you invested in a show and then cancels it right when it's getting good.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot. We're used to it now because Netflix is a poorly run company that has no interest in anything except user engagement and keeping you watching things. They don't care about shows being good or having, a solid brand identity, but they do care about numbers. And
I read this thing over the weekend. I can't remember where it was, but it was basically saying that a key metric that you can use to see like which shows Netflix is canceling or renewing is the rate at which people who start the show watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
from beginning to end. And if it clears more than half of the people who start it watch the whole thing, it gets renewed. And if it doesn't clear that, then it doesn't get renewed.
And I saw that as well.
Which is a weird metric. Because, and the article points out, like, there are plenty of shows that are lauded as, like, some of the best ever in comedy and in drama that did not have those sorts of watch numbers in the early seasons. And it was through word of mouth and the shows improving that eventually they were able to garner, and through the support of streaming services allowing people to catch up on them, that those shows were able to garner a following that made them classics. So it's really kind of strange to then watch a streaming service that has been, maybe unintentionally instrumental in preserving and deepening the fandoms of broadcast television shows. Like, imagine the Office fandom without Netflix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or imagine being able to jump on to, I don't know, Breaking Bad or something like that without Netflix. If it was on Netflix, I don't remember.
I think it was. Those are perfect examples, by the way.
I took those from the article.
Okay.
I can't keep pretending like I came up with that. But yeah, it's just funny that that's the case, and then Netflix does all this original programming and doesn't, like, there's no thing to catch these things when Netflix is like, we're done. It's just such a strange dynamic.
And I don't want to just keep saying, like, TV shows used to be better, or they used to, because what we got in the aughts, in the 90s and the 80s, was instead, we're going to drag this show that doesn't need this many seasons into 100 episodes so that it can get syndicated. That was the profit-minded work. But that allowed us to get more episodes of things. You know, it led to things like Scrubs Season 9, which a lot of people don't like. Like, shows going too long, you know, is a really popular thing. But nowadays, it's a blessing if a show can go really long, because it means they can actually tell an entire story, and they can introduce weird characters and do it. It's way more rare that a show goes over 2-3 seasons. It's just very different. And Sense8 was right at the tip of that spear that we're now like fully immersed in. Is like, if a show can get past 2 seasons, it's a miracle. So yeah, I feel like this episode is a huge bummer. When it ends, you're like, oh fuck, okay, shit, okay, yeah, we have nothing left, we're done, because it feels like a writer. I'm pantomiming right now. I'm writing on my hand. It feels like a writer who was writing a story, and then their pen ran out of ink, and they threw the manuscript away. It's like, well, shit, what? You should have tried to finish that. Can I get any? You were like mid-sentence. The pause was pregnant. What was the next sentence? And that's how I felt finishing this. Was like, well, you finally got me invested, and then you ended it. Damn it. So it's disappointing. This is a really disappointing, if quote unquote, finale. And if I was a fan, I would be. If I was watching at the time, if I had made it to season 2, then I would have been with those fans who petitioned for an ending.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, I mean, it's obvious that the creators didn't know that this was a cancellation, because this is just such a moment of, whoa, you thought you knew what was going on? Just kidding. Now something nuts is going on. See you in season 3. And those are always the worst. I appreciate it when shows take the other approach of like, any of the season finales could be the end, so let's do it that way. That was something I really liked about, I think The Good Place did that. Of like, every season is kind of like an escalation of the show's concept, or like a new direction for it. And then you can kind of see that resolved at the end of the season, with maybe some threads left open so that you can pick up next time. But I don't love it when shows take this approach of like, let's just, you know, throw it all out there and see if we can pick it up. And I mean, JMS did this on Babylon 5, and thank God Babylon 5 ended, right? But here Sense8 doesn't end until people force it to end.
Until it does.
Yeah.
This episode, in a way, though, it is a send-off for a character who, like, since the beginning has been brought to the side. And what I like about You Want a War is all of the Sun stuff, because, I mean, like, look at all 8 of these guys behind the car as she's getting ready to kill her brother, and none of them are like, Sun, revenge is not the way to happiness, and you're not going to find fulfillment. They're like, you want to do this? Whatever. I don't feel any particular way about it, but I want to help you accomplish what you need. And she's been doing that for them the whole show. And it's really refreshing for everyone to finally be like, Sun, what do you need? You know, right. We could have helped you with this so long ago, and we've just had your plot on pause. So to finally give Sun the ending and have it be the classic, like, revenge is futile, don't worry with it, like, the system is going to fight back no matter what thing, felt appropriate and good. And we also got some great Wachowski action in all of this. So, like, everything in that plot line, in isolation, loved it. Once Wolfgang gets kidnapped, the show is setting up. It's building a railroad to nowhere, basically. So let's talk about the Sun stuff first, yeah? Since that's the part that ends.
Yeah. I love this aggressive swing. You know, we talked about season 1 having some genre pastiche going on that these different characters were bringing into it. I love this aggressive swing away from the kind of like central Sense8 genre or tone of like, we're just happy to be around each other, we love each other so much, to this like hyper violent, glitzy neon action film. This is awesome. Like, this whole sequence fucking rocks.
Yeah,
to see Sun like fight through the dudes and chase her brother. It was cool.
This is the Matrix 4. This is it like feels like a prototype of some of the scenes in that film. And it's just them doing all the stuff that they do great, like the highway scene from The Matrix 2. Like they fucking know how to do driving chase scenes and fight scenes and club scenes. It's like a greatest hits. Jun-Ki, the ultimate motherfucker. Just to start the episode, you hate him. He's giving a speech about his dad. Oh man, dad was so wonderful. He's telling all these rich people at this stupid party, like, oh man, it's so sad what happened to my dad. Even though you fucking killed him, you got him killed, you dick. And you're just like stewing in that with the rest of the characters. And then who's back but mother effing Detective Mun, who thinks that it's a smart and responsible play to just arrest Jun-Ki in front of everybody. Because that's gonna go fine. Except, just kidding. He gets shot in the stomach immediately.
At the end of my notes for the last episode, I wrote, they just totally forgot about that detective guy, huh?
Yeah.
And then he's in this, and I loved that all of the characters were like, son, wait, Detective Mun is here. He's going to solve everything. I love that guy. Lena literally says, I love that guy.
Yeah.
And then
Blah.
Yeah.
He's shot.
To see all of them be like, to see all of them mourn him more than they mourned Jonas was great.
It's so true though. They're like, I think Caffey is like, he's dead. Detective Mun is dead. He's not, but they thought that he was, and you're like, oh my god, that's so sad. Aren't the guy that we like had like sex with as a kid, and then now we fought him in front of our dad's grave? That's great. I love him. He's dead, or he's shot, and for some reason, the show decides that for the rest of Sun's scenes, she needs to be stripped down to her underwear.
Yeah, that was the one thing where it's like, if this is going to be a Matrix thing, can't you also have her wear a duster or something?
Yeah, like, give me a leather jacket.
Why are we doing this? It was silly.
And it doesn't exactly feel like, I mean, yeah, like, dude, isn't like Bae-Doona like really beautiful? Like, yes, I agree. But like, it almost feels like they're just making her vulnerable. Like she has nothing left. She's just like down to her skivvies. Like she's in like military or something. She just feels very like brought down to nothing, and all she has left is her gun and her wits and these 8 people, or these 7 other people. It felt like maybe that's what they were going for, but it's also the camera's gaze. Like, look at her sprawled out behind this car with everybody laying on top of her. Like, it is that too.
Yeah.
It was a really weird directorial choice. And there's like so many promotional images of it. If you look up this episode, that's like, was this the gimmick? Is we're gonna get like Sun half naked and have her fight her brother? Okay, whatever.
Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan.
Me neither. I was just confused by it. But Kala has an idea. Everyone's like, Kala, come on, you're like the scientist, and she's like, no,
she forcibly takes the body over.
Give me the body. Mom says it's my turn to use the Xbox. And blow the car up like we're playing goddamn GTA. Like, shoot the gas thing, and they're like, it doesn't work like it does in the movies. She's like, no, you shoot it leaks out, and then you shoot the leak. That's how this works. And she blows a car up. That's pretty fun. As Jun-Ki attempts to escape, though, Nomi and Bug have, quote, hacked the grid. And first of all, they get on the parking speaker and scare him by quoting a Lito Rodriguez movie, which is so cute. And he's like, who are you? He's like such a baby in this. Why do you know my name? And she's like, justice is served. And they do this whole thing about like they make the lights red, which is I think they do in the Matrix. Like they literally do that. They do that in a lot of movies. Capheus decides to drive. Like, oh, conveniently, there's a motorcycle. A lot of this is just convenience so that we can do fun stuff. Capheus is like, oh, a motorcycle. Jun-Ki, again, referencing that we're in a movie or a show, is like, what, is my sister the Terminator? And she drives through like a marketplace, and there's like free rebar poles for her to take. And Wolfgang throws a rebar pole into Jun-Ki's car wheel.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
So cool. So sick. It flips.
Oh, jeez Louise.
And we're not done with that rebar pole, because Sun drags it like she's a horror villain.
Oh man. The way that they get rid of all the guns and they're like, I need a weapon, and it's the rebar pole, and somehow this is the most raw fucking dangerous thing that could have possibly gotten into their hands. This is action directing at its finest. It's really something to behold.
Yeah, 110%. I mean, like, she drives by a store that just seems to sell rebar poles. Like, it's just there. She doesn't break it off of something. There just is a pole there. Like, it's so convenient. I love it.
Yeah,
I
love wielding it like a damn javelin.
Yes.
Awesome.
He slams it in the wheel and then the car flips and blows up. And this is beautiful. My roommate's been watching the Fast and Furious movies. We're trying to like finish the last fucking 5 of them. And those have some good action directing, but nothing matches a good car flip, I'm telling you. And then the dragging the pole. I'm going to kill my brother. And I'm like writing in my notes, is this going to be a revenge is futile, she's not going to kill him thing? It totally is. But the little twist is that he's taken away not by police, but by another politician, which like season 3 plot line that's not going to come to pass, I guess. He gets safe. She is about to get arrested. We can't let Sun get arrested because she's going to get killed in prison. We already had this happen before. So we break her out. Here's another question. If I'm going to be annoying about like, how did we like the rules of Sense8? Will manages to free her by like pulling something out of the truck, but aren't her hands tied? So how come he's able to get out of her body and like pull something out of the truck if her hands are tied?
Maybe, yeah, that was a little confusing visually, but I think we've been in a position before where she's been in a pair of handcuffs and Will has gotten her out of the handcuffs.
Yeah.
So I think that,
I think that the hand wave is that she could move her hands and we just didn't see that.
Yeah, but it is a little visually confusing.
Yes, and we do some Tokyo Drift stuff, and as she like they knock the car into another car with a red light, and you're like, oh no, like okay, we got out, but how are we gonna get away? If only there was a motorcycle. Who's here with a motorcycle, Magellan?
Let me try to guess 5 different characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Diego.
How about Detective. Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, Diego. He flew to Seoul. Okay. How about? Gosh, I don't know. Bug. Bug's there.
Yeah. Well, Bug is on the comm, so Bug can't be there right now. He's
okay.
busy.
It's not Bug. Gosh. Yep. Okay. The teacher. Her teacher guy.
He's busy taking care of the dog.
Okay. Detective Munn, I guess, is in the hospital.
He's in the hospital. He just got shot.
Okay. I give up. Who is it?
Remember that sex pest that was in an episode for 5 minutes?
Sorry.
Puck. What? Puck? Puck from Riley's plot, who had nothing to do with anything, is conveniently here with a motorcycle because he's the Sense8. This is what happens when you're friends with people, even weirdos, is that they can just come and save you. He drives her back to the Love Hotel. So convenient. I'm fine with it because the show is over and nothing matters anymore. But how silly. Puck of all people. He did come to Seoul. I don't think he was in Seoul before.
Yeah, on the Sense8 wiki page, the top comment is like, "How is Puck in Seoul?" Or
I believe
because there's really no setup to it. There's that moment where Riley's like, I guess we're gonna have to call in this favor, except like, why? How?
Why? What?
Did you set this up as like a potential option?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a weird random moment.
And he's got his little hentai tattoo as they're in the hotel, and he's like, oh, son, you owe me something. Like, naturally, like a man. Here's the thing about masculinity, is that, like, you owe me sex now, and so you should come do sex with me. And so what would Son do but what any of us would do, and break his foot and make him sit in a corner like a good boy? So good. It was her and I think Kala just talking, and he's in the back like, anybody is this plot about me at all? Can I have sex with someone? No? Okay. Ow, my foot. Beat his ass. The news, thank God, confirms here that Mr. Munn is alive. Detective Munn is fine. Don't worry about it. And then they talk about Junki's intercepted by political people, and they're calling her a psychopath. We know this is a season 3 plot that goes nowhere.
Right.
Or it'll be in the finale. They attempt to extort Puck about his different connections. And then another this show is canceled moment as a random beautiful woman from Puck's cluster is like, Puck, you gotta get out of here. Don't tell anyone anything and take a bunch of blockers and go in quarantine. You're in trouble. Bye, guys. I gotta go. I'm out of the plot now because my Sense8 lady told me I can't help you. Is she important? Do we see her again?
I mean, I think we know the answer to that question is probably not.
No.
But again, the next episode is 2.5 hours long, so
anything could happen. Anything could happen in it.
Yeah.
And then her plot just bumps into Wolfgang's situation. So, Sun, she had her little ending, and Junki's free. And was it worth it? Probably not. But it was really sick along the way.
Yeah, it kind of ends in this place of the news being like, well, she is a murderer and really scary. And the characters are kind of scratching their heads like, was that the smart thing to do? Why did we do that again? Not quite sure.
It was fun.
But yeah, it was fun. That's for sure.
I have two quick scenes that happen.
In the Sun stuff?
No, I don't have any other Sun stuff. Do you have any other Sun stuff before we move on? I love the club.
So. Yeah, I do like the club. I like the little character detail of her brother pretending that she's there as a distraction, and then he actually sees her, and he's like, "Oh fuck, she's actually here."
That was very funny.
A funny thing. And then I love when she's chasing him, and he says, "Are you serious? My sister's the fucking Terminator."
Yeah.
God, that's sick.
The way he says it is so goofy. Yeah. My quick hits are about Capheus, who gets a check-in, season 3. A bunch of like other African Sense8s are like, "Hey, what's up, Capheus? We just want to let you know that like you weren't the only one there at that big rally, and you need to like ask for help sometimes, and we're here too if you need it. We are 8 characters you're never going to see again. This is awesome. I wish I could. This is the season 3 thing I wanted more of. The Imaginary Sense8 season 3 is let's introduce more Sense8 clusters. And they're all different ages, but they're all like different. They all look different. It's so cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how can Sense8s be different ages? Maybe they're not in the same cluster.
Yeah, I think they just know each other. Maybe.
Or maybe the August 8th cluster is the only one born at the same time. We don't know. I don't know how that works.
I think it was like presented to us as like a truth of Sense8s that they're born on the same day.
Yeah. Okay. That's
because I think Jonas was like, "Hey, you might notice that you're born on the same day."
Right. And then my other quick hit, whatever. That plot goes nowhere. There's nothing there. He gets up. He sees them. They're like, "Hey, what's up?" That's all. Let's talk about Nomi and Amanita for a second. This scene made me tear up.
Yeah, this was pretty interesting, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Amanita remarks on the fact they're back at the apartment. They're reflecting on how crazy life has become. Oh my god. We've been like fighting. We've been getting shot at. We're hacking things. We're across the country. Your brain is like inhabited by 7 other people. But at least we're dealing with our choices. Choice is less about what happens, more about how we deal with it, which is a really good point from Amanita. And you're building up to, and I love doing it with you, Nomi, and I want to keep doing it with you. And you know what's about to happen, guys. And yet, when she turns around and pulls out that box and there's a ring inside, I tear up a little bit. And then when Nomi goes away and she turns around and pulls a ring out, I tear up a lot. The sweetest fucking gay wedding moment ever. They both got each other rings and they proposed to each other.
Yeah, I adored this. I'm glad. I really like that they spent time in this plot addressing the impact that being a Sense8 would have, not just on like the romantic bonds you form with another Sense8, but your existing romantic bonds with someone who's not in your cluster.
With people, yeah.
Yeah, and what does it look like to like still preserve and cherish and hold most dear these non-Sense8 bonds while being connected to an experience that someone can't understand. it feels really important to me that that's a part of this story, and that we're affirming their love is able to transcend this fantastical reality, and it's affirming of like what is fantastical about the love itself, you know. And I think that's really special. And like you were saying, you can read from a mile away. I mean, Amanita gets up, walks across the whole room, and starts talking about our life together, and you're like, okay, she got a ring. But then that second ring, you don't expect it, and it's a great scene.
And you make a good point that this is actually addressing like the one little problem I was having with Nomi's plot, which is like, oh, every time we try to live our lives, the Sense8 stuff happens, and like, are they going to address that? And what they say is like so earnest and loving, and what I love about Sense8 is that it affirms like love can still happen even when your life has like all of this chaos and problems in it, which is that we can do it together. Yeah, fine. I know that our life is going to keep getting interrupted, and I love that about you. And what Amanita says about, like, when I first met you, I said, like, you came into City Lights, and I said, don't let that girl leave without giving her your number. And then she says, and I kept that in my head, don't let that girl leave. And that's wonderful. Power of love. We're big saps here at Chats. It's goofy, it's gooey, it's nice, and I like it a lot. Nomi Amanita forever. The ineffable power of lesbianism. Anyways, Kala and Rajan opened that present from Ajay. Extremely a season 3 plot line, because it's a statue of Ganesh, and Kala goes like, oh, I didn't know he was a believer. I feel like this is a veiled threat, the way that Rajan reacts to it. Yes. Or something.
Yes, it definitely feels that way.
Because he's like, it's delicate, don't break it, it can be destroyed easily. Is he saying like, I'm gonna take Kala from you? And then
or something like that. Yeah.
Rajan's like, hey, I want to tell you everything that's been going on in my plot line. I'm not a bad guy. I've actually been investigating political corruption, and Ajay's my partner. Did either of us expect this plot to go this way?
Ajay's on his part. I think he's investigating Ajay undercover.
Oh, that's what it was. He said he was involved, like he might be involved in the corruption.
Yes, I believe that's what's happening.
But what's funny is that we, the viewer, don't expect this to be what it is. I thought it was going to be like he's probably, when he was yelling on the phone before, was probably yelling at Ajay or someone related to that plot. That's probably what that was. And Kala, too, is like, this is not what I expected. I thought you were just cheating on me. What? You're investigating? I wanted to go to Paris and have sex with a German guy.
It's so funny because Kala goes into this interaction like, well, I'm the one who has a plot here, and then Rajan's like, look, I'd love to talk, but I have a plot going on. And Kala's like,
wait,
huh? You have a plot? What? You can't do that. Stop it.
It's my plot.
Quit that.
I'm gonna go to Paris now and just be your nice wife. Anyways, hey Wolfgang, what's goody? I love you more than I think I love my husband. I should talk to him.
And it's weird, like how much Rajan takes in stride Kala being like, hey, we should talk, and he's kind of like, oh yeah, our relationship's kind of over, huh? Anyway, look, we don't have to talk about that right now. There's like some business going on that I want to keep you safe from. And look, our relationship might be over. And it's like, wait, what? Who is this?
What?
Why are you like so chill right now?
Yeah. Really weird pivot for Rajan.
Super weird.
And before Kala and Wolfgang can get together, Leela interrupts and says, I wanted you. And so did the cannibal. So did Whispers. Anyways, he's here. Bzz. Wolfgang gets fucking tased. And we begin a plot line that has no ending yet. As literally exactly like Riley getting kidnapped. We're taking Wolfgang to a facility. We're gonna lobotomize him. We figured out who... I think Whispers' goal at this point was to find out more about who the different members of the cluster are. Because he goes into Wolfgang's brain.
How did he know that Wolfgang was in the August 8 cluster, though? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, how did he get to that? Where did the logic bring him here?
Lila's
from
like,
Lila.
But Lila's like, when I learned how much he wanted to get you, but how was... Because, like, Leto, right, is this super famous movie star who's way out in the open. and isn't being followed by BPO because nobody knows that he's a Sense8, and certainly they don't know that he's part of the August 8 cluster.
Mm-hmm.
So like there needs to be some source of information for Whispers or Lila to learn what cluster Wolfgang's in.
Right.
But it isn't clear to me how that happens.
I just figured Lila gave him the info because she said we get to be safe and we get blockers and stuff if we help BPO, and she told Whispers where Wolfgang is.
That makes sense. But how does Whispers know who Wolfgang is?
Right.
Is what I'm saying. And that isn't explained.
No, it's not. And when Wolfgang's captured, they see the ID. Everybody's now flying. Speaking of this storyline being about like people, we can work better together if we just meet up. Everybody's taking flights to London. And Angelica's here for some reason. Wolfgang, he's like, where am I? And Whispers goes, oh, you're in the Traceworks. And I was like, don't introduce a new proper noun. Don't give me like a new place with a name, guys. I don't care about the Traceworks. But everyone's going to London. I think like they're literally flying. I don't think it's like one or two of them. I think like all 8 people are coming to, like some of them are going to Whispers. Some of them are going to what we find out is Jonas's house.
No, I think Jonas is in this same facility.
Oh, I thought he was in like a kitchen.
I thought it was like a house or whatever too, but I think he has an apartment-like place inside the BPO facility.
That's like
because in the van at the end they unzip the body bags and it's Whispers and Jonas, and they're leaving from the same location.
Okay, that makes more sense. Sure, Jonas is working with Whispers, I guess. Here's my question, just my last little details thing of Sense8. How come Sun's able to fly?
Huh?
Sun just like killed a bunch of people and and now she can show her ID and fly on an airplane?
Yeah, well, I think Nomi probably mocked up a fake thing.
Because it says Sun Bay.
It says Sun Bay. Yeah,
not Sunbuk. So I guess they just changed her name and she wore sunglasses and was able to get through. Sure.
Right. Well, the thing he said, like, "Hey, report this person," and the guy is like, "Meh, go on ahead."
Oh, he didn't notice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're all here. A bunch of us beat up Jonas. A bunch of us beat up Whispers, and then the funniest thing, I laughed out loud. Whispers and Will are once again in that like interrogation room, and Whispers is like, "Will, you stupid motherfucker, you're always in my brain. I'm in your brain. You're never gonna beat me up." Whispers, "I'm actually here." Huh? Bop! Punches him, kicks his ass. Because all of them took blockers and Whispers didn't know that they traveled. So he literally thinks that they're visiting, and in actuality they're physically here. And Jonas thought the same thing. And that's how they're able to do this, is just take blockers and then you can travel across the world and not get seen. It's a
dumb.
little it's a little dumb. Yeah. It's framed as like a twist, and it's like, we've been working with blockers for the whole season. What do you mean we finally tricked Whispers? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah. It feels like when you watch a heist movie and they do the heist and then they explain to you all the planning that happened where they planned the heist, except there's no planning scene that explains this.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, it's like season 3 will explain it to you. Whoa. But I was left just being like, what?
Happens fast.
How did we do that? You go from boom, Whispers knows where Kala is, to boom, Will is in the room with Whispers, clonk, slam. All right, let's go. It's very fast. It's like kind of funny.
Yes, 100%. It's very fun. You want a war? You've got a war. What? Why? What? Okay. Next season, I guess. There is no next season. So, like, I guess my thing is that the finale has to be just this. We rescue Wolfgang, and our plots end. Sun gets to be free. Will is over his dad. Riley is happy in life and doesn't feel like she's a curse. Leto is a successful actor. Capheus is a successful politician. Colleague and gets to be with Wolfgang. Show over. Like, I think that's all the finale has to be. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's probably going to be a big heist thing.
Is that what you want from the finale?
I just want it to end. I don't even know. I just want it to end clean. Yeah. I don't want this to be the ending. That's what it is. I don't want this to be the ending. So if it's cleaner than this, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
If they can like somehow wrap up the things that were going to be resolved in season 3, like the other Sense8s, that's the impressive thing. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to ignore all of those things.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think the thing that's kind of funny and that gives me some hope about the next episode is all of these characters leave their plots to go do the main plot. Like Capheus's mom is like, "What's wrong? You seem so unusual," and Capheus is like, "All right, bye, gotta go." Or Leto like hits the floor in the bathroom, and Hernando and Danny are like, "Oh my god, let's call the ambulance." And Leto's like, no, don't worry about it. Listen, we got to stop this Hollywood plot because I got to go do like the end of the show now. But I'll bring you with me and I'll explain everything. And that gives me some hope that like we're not going to spend a ton of time in the next episode doing the next thing of all of these plots. But then it makes them feel even more kind of like, it's annoying that we spent our time on them because they don't get resolved. But we'll see. I mean, we're sort of, I'm speaking about something that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it because if nothing else, Sense8 has always delivered new stuff to me.
Yeah.
Like in terms of visuals and little ideas, even if sometimes the plot movement hasn't been there, it's always been entertaining and engaging, and I'm excited to send it off next week.
For sure. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Any stray notes before we get there?
I don't think so. No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Me neither. Next week, we are watching the real series finale of Sense8, Amor Vincit Omnia, which is Latin for Love Conquers All. In the sweeping series finale, passions run high as the Sense8s and their closest allies fight to save the cluster and stop their enemies for good. This aired in June of 2018. The thumbnail is a bunch of the Sense8s in a car together. If we listen to what's going on, I'm going to cry. I'm like ready for it.
Please.
I want to hear their playlist. I want to hear multiple songs.
Me too.
Magellan, to bring it to the close, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on another podcast called Super Smash Echoes, which I do with my friend Justin, where we talk about video games that are related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise in some way or another. We play them. Usually they're games we haven't played before, but have had some sort of cultural impact. And it's a fun time. Super Smash Echoes. Also, as of this recording, I am looking into and probably have launched at this point a Substack page just for kind of random writings and such. Probably by the time you're hearing this, it is just a place for me to collect things that I have written in the past in other places. But something I'm going to try to contribute to and add to over the course of 2023. It's notthatmagellan.substack.com. And it's, as of now, free to subscribe to. So check it out. Just kind of writing about things that are of interest to me and on my mind.
Alan, what about you? Setting a date for yourself now when the podcast comes out. That'll be out.
Yeah.
I'm on a couple podcasts. One is called Oops More Anime. My friend Six and I are wrapping up our coverage of the anime Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, which just finished its first core this week. We're probably going to announce that we're not picking up that show for its next core because we have problems with how it ended its first one. But anime discussion over there, that's on scanlinemedia.com. Six and I also do the Creature Quorum, where we talk about and discuss and review talking about and discussing are the same thing, Alan. Come on now. We discuss creatures from Pokemon, Monster Hunter, and elsewhere. And it's very funny and silly. And you can check that out also on Scanline Media. Finally, I'm the producer and primary host of Talking Marketing, which is an AMA Boston podcast that comes out every other month, where I and my co-hosts and co-VPs interview marketing professionals about their craft. And that can be found wherever you listen to podcasts. It's called Talking Marketing. Magellan, this being an even episode of Chats means that I get to do the plug zone. Mom said it's my turn to do the plug zone.
Do it.
I will. I'm not biding for time. If you have questions, comments, concerns about Chats, our email address is chatspod@gmail.com. If you're still on Twitter, I applaud you because I am too, and I don't know why I'm still there. It's at Chatspod, ChatCPOD, just like all instances of Chatspod. If you're on Reddit, we have a subreddit. It's our Chatspod, where people talk about the shows. If you like Chats as a podcast, you like Magellan and I talking to each other, then rate us on your podcast platform of choice, Apple Podcasts. We have a couple of reviews on there, and Spotify as well. We appreciate your feedback, good or bad. If you want to support us financially, we have a Patreon. It can be found at patreon.com/chatspod, where at $1, $3, or $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content from both Magellan and I that is and isn't about TV. So at $5 a month or more, you get thanked at the end of every main episode of Chats. And as of today, our $5 patrons include Arthur, Jen, Justin, Kat, Lee, Magellan's mom, Marcus, Michael, Nick and Pat of the Brothers at Infinite War, Six, and Stefan. All things Chats can be found at chatspod.com. Our podcast art was done by Camilla. She can be found at Camillastrator on social media platforms. And before we take it home, our final segment here is called Chatsums. That's where Magellan and I give you a recommendation for something to enjoy, experience, think about between now and next week on Chats. So Magellan, that being said, what is or are your Chatsums this week?
This past weekend, I concluded a legacy board game that I have chatsomed in the past, and so I want to take a moment here to re-chatsum it. It's called The King's Dilemma. If you can find 4 other people who want to play about 14 rounds or so of this kind of negotiating, wheeling and dealing, Game of Thrones pastiche kind of thing, I highly, highly recommend The King's Dilemma. Don't look it up. Don't spoil it for yourself. It's a great legacy board game. The best that I've played so far. After we played The King's Dilemma, everybody who I was playing with, we walked to this nice little diner. We got a big late lunch. We ate our big late lunch. We took a huge nap, and it was
wow.
Everybody took a big nap slightly off from everybody else's big nap time. And so you would emerge, because we were staying at one of these people's houses or somewhere where they're living upstate a little bit. So we're in this house, and there's a fire going, and I wake up after sleeping for an hour, and I look over, and my buddy is going from waiting for me to wake up to lying down on the floor in front of the fire, and he falls asleep. Aww. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll fall back asleep. And then we all woke back up, and there was an hour left before everybody had to go. And we played this other board game that's my chatsum, which is called Sagrada. And it's this really pretty little puzzle game. Ooh, where you're passing around this bag of colorful, translucent, 6-sided dice, and you're trying to pick dice from the pool to add to what you're building in front of you, which is a stained glass window is the theme of it. And it kind of has these almost Sudoku-like elements of when you place certain things, it sets rules for what can go around it, and you're kind of building the thing in front of you, but looking at the person next to you and thinking do I want to mess with them? Is it worth it? Oh, if I take this now, am I giving up something good later? So it's just enough little decision making and just pretty enough that it was the perfect kind of denouement to the day that had this intensity earlier on. So I highly recommend Sagrada if you're looking for that sort of a light, fun, thinky sort of pretty thing.
Sagrada. Sagrada.
That's right.
That evening, by the way, sounds like that evening sounds like that day sounds like your dream. You played board games. You went to a diner, and then you took a nap.
Yeah, I had this fat Reuben sandwich.
Oh,
and then I just slept on the couch, and
amazing.
The sun set around me as I was sleeping. It was quite something.
Stupendous. Yeah, my chatsums are films. I have some films to talk about real briefly. I want to shout out the last couple movies. It's January 9th when we're recording this, and I've watched 3, 4, 5, 6 movies this year already, which is big for me. I've just had a lot of free time and it's been cold, so what else is there to do but watch movies? I watched Chef finally. As a big fan of the YouTube channel Binging with Babish, I know that his favorite movie is Chef from 2014, written, directed, and starring Jon Favreau. It's a very self-indulgent but very sweet movie where Jon Favreau gets a bunch of his celebrity friends to be in a movie about a down-on-his-luck single dad who is trying to reconcile with his son and also gets fired from his big culinary job that's stressing him out, and so he opens a food truck and takes his son and John Leguizamo around the country with him, and they make food for people, and it's really sweet. It's almost like saccharine, and it being from 2014 means that there's an extended plot line about him almost getting in trouble on Twitter because he at somebody that he thought he was DMing, and his son is like, "Oh my god, Dad, everyone can see that public at." It's 2014 Twitter is a different world than what it is today, and that's just really charming, that plot point of it. But it's a really fun movie if you're bored and you want. It's kind of, I don't like the term, but food porny. It's very look how good this food that he's making is. He learned to cook for the film. It's called Chef, and
that's cool.
There's a TV series about him and the guy Ray Choi, who taught him how to cook, going around and cooking together.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's Chef. And then I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. I saw Avatar: The Way of Water this week because I was bored and I wanted to go to a movie theater. It's a good movie to go to a movie theater for. I usually hate movies that are over 2.5 hours long. This movie was 3 hours and 15 minutes, and it didn't feel long, which is a testament. Yeah, it's fun.
Impossible.
It's remarkable that Avatar is becoming more like Avatar, because Avatar, the Blue People movie, is now we need to go to the different tribes and learn their elemental abilities to stop a big war. And so Avatar is becoming more like Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Wow.
The next one's going to be about them going to the Fire Tribe, which is interesting. So James Cameron, he still got it. He still got the ability to wow us with beautiful visuals and family, emotional, sappy stories. And the CG looks good. And what can I say? If it's on, if you have a way to watch it, I'm not going to be like, you got to see it in IMAX. I watched it in standard def and I had a great time. Just check it out if you're bored. It's really fun. That's all I got, though. Movies. Keep watching them. I'm probably going to slow down movies, though, because
you've watched a lot of movies so far this year.
Yeah, I really
impressive.
Have. Thanks, man. That's all we got, folks. I want to say thank you to Magellan for being the Sense8 fandom to my Sense8 creator, because he keeps things going even when we get canceled by our corporate overlords. And I want to say thank you, dear listener, for being the Chats listener to my Chats host, because you keep us going. This metaphor is going absolutely nowhere. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night. Tip your waitress. And goodbye.